about Megan. His music was Giant's theme. Makes sense since Giant was his battle partner in Mega's one and so far only film appearance. He was a lot like Moga, but faster and with more weapons. He started out charging off with drill. I like to fly back and forth around him, which seems to really annoy him. After a few seconds, he'd step back, turn around, and start spitting out grenades. Those were a pain because they would bounce when they hit the ground. Lastly, he started spamming the lightning beam. It only went straight forward, so it was easy to duck under it, and then shoot with him. Overall, I describe him as strong, present but dumb. I was now nearing the end of Entropy. I had just taken down my limb, and I started up the last TV screen to see what I'd get this time. The result was unpleasant. The music for this gruesome scene was the password theme. I couldn't figure out why this animation was no sinister and violent in comparison to the other two. This whole game seemed to be growing more violent. So as I went on to finish Entropy, I began to feel drained. It's hard to describe. Like I had suddenly became tired. When I wasn't before, I'd be most likely just the tension from all that happened in the game getting to me. But who knows? The last level type on Entropy, it was called the Shadow Labyrinth. The scenery was recolored from the gold to black. The music was an evil MS, similar to the unforgiving gold loop, but distinctly different. The music was my first sign that this level was going to be devastating. I traveled through the maze for about a minute, and I noticed that there weren't any creatures hovering around it. It was an odd transition from the gold labyrinth, which was overrun with creatures, to this level that had nothing at all. But then this might be a good thing. Maybe there wouldn't be any obstacles, and I could get there through the level with ease. The screen went dark, and immediately I snapped out of my daze from a few seconds earlier. Everything had been darkened, so that was the only thing I could see. Was the Martha's fight. I couldn't tell where I was going, and I ended up furtively running into walls. I heard a noise that sounded of a crowd running through a hallway, and along with the running came the roars, loud roaring sounds, which I would describe as something like a rabid dog the size of an elephant screaming with fury. And I could tell that whatever was making this noise, there were lots of them. Now, I knew there was something there, but it wasn't until I did a screen cap editing that I got to see what my pursuits looked like. But at this time, I couldn't see where they were or where I was going. I was literally running blind. And this mob of beasts eventually caught up with me. All I could think was no, as I saw my life fall rapidly didn't. The monsters had taken me down to half my total health. When I was saved, the light came back on and attacks as. And so the challenge of this level was revealed. Find the exit before the lights go out, and a pack of monsters maul you to death. I was in panic mode now, moving as fast as I could while trying every path I could find for a way out. As I played through the level, the lights went out a total 3 times. The second time I would have been dead meat had it not been for the one wide-eyed statues. As I stayed close to it, monsters seemed to all avoid me until the light came back. The statue wandered them away. Somehow, I was safe as long as I stayed near the statue. but at the same time I had to leave to find the exit. The shadow labyrinth turned out to be much smaller than the gold labyrinth, as it only took about 6 minutes to navigate to the end. But before the exit, there was a row of halls leading straight down, with no way out. Once entered, you either got the exit before the monsters reached you, or you died. Thankfully, I made it out. Only one more boss, Godzilla. I started the battle, and got some unexpected. Not only did my life shoot back up to 100% again, it seems to do that randomly, but instead of a replacement boss, I was fighting Godzilla. But any Godzilla fan would worth their salt can figure this out. Mechagodzilla started off like fighting a clone Godzilla, but his disguise burned away after only 3 life bars. Usually a transformation only occurred at halfway point. At this point, it was like fighting Mechagodzilla in the normal game. It felt kind of nice to fight one of the original game enemies for a chance. Although he wasn't exactly like normal, he also had a rainbow beam and finger missiles, preventing me from doing that old trick, backing him in the corner and hitting him with dive beams in a spot where he can't hit me. But that was always a cheap trick anyways. But after getting him down to half of his health, something weird started to happen. His sprite started to glitch in much the same way as Godzilla had back up in the first world. After a few seconds, the glitches began to form anew, and thus the game had created not Mechagodzilla. And I discovered that the visual glitch was somehow related to the game re-glitching things. The human face on this one gives it a very uncomfy look. It was one of the stronger replacement monsters and had the most firepower. Picture here, it is the moth beam, which I got caught in the middle of. Even though it was a bit stronger, it also slower than its original corruption and couldn't jump around as much. I won the fight by constantly staying out of his line of fire. Bombarded the machine with poison powder as I flew over it. One last thing to do. The Hellbeast chase. Oh boy. Might as well just get this over with, I thought. The entropy chief ended up being exactly what I was afraid it would be. A labyrinth level. All the other chases, although difficult, were extremely straightforward. You just had to run to the right and not get touched. But this one took all the simplicity out of it. There was no telling how big the labyrinth would be or where the exit was. And now not only did I have to constantly backtrack to find my way out, I also had to avoid getting one hit killed by the red monster. And for those first 30 seconds, I didn't show up. But I knew it would. And as I started picking up the pace, I heard a loud flapping noise. And there it was, in a flying form. It flew with bat-like wings, and as fast as the elephants as ever. For reasons already stated, this was probably the most nerve-wracking of all the end chases. And as such as I had to keep my focus on the game and not taking screen caps. However, I did take this one of the red monster doing something I found very interesting. I had managed to lose it by going through a different path. It apparently expected, and it was blocked me from attacking me. One organic walls of the red labyrinth, or so I thought. I tried clawing through the wall for a second before opening up his mouth and tearing the wall apart with the instant jaws. But those brief milliseconds that the monster was held back might have been the key to finding the exit. The path to the exit was long and complex, but from what I remember, I went up and back towards the left. I'm still not sure why I chose the particular way. Just a lucky hunch, I suppose. I was sweating profusely, but my luck had saved me yet again. I hoped that it wouldn't run out before I finished the game. There were only 2 more worlds to go. Next was the pyramid called Exis.